I came to Paris with many of the same motivations as the countless dreamers that came before me. As a student of French language and literature, I arrived at the end of 2006, seeking a taste of the textbook reverie I had spent so much of my university life back in Philadelphia studying. The works of George Sand, Charles Baudelaire, and Victor Hugo, among those by literary expat figures like Ernest Hemingway and Gertrude Stein. Both their use of the language and their relationships to the city planted the seeds of curiosity. I wanted to experience the quality of life, itself a thing of legends, and the stories I hoped, no, knew, would unfurl before me with each street, quartier, and Parisian encountered. To a great extent, I came to know that it was real. Like most wide-eyed new visitors, my viewpoint was narrow. In my colorful imagination, Paris functioned as a one-trick pony on an immaculate stage of perfectly packaged historic marvels, a picturesque trophy city. If we were to trust our twee vision, Paris appears more like a simulacrum of a city, a living museum that trades on its past to woo travelers eager to experience Paris, the iconic destination. If I returned after that first summer of intense study and linguistic immersion in Paris and laid down roots shortly thereafter, I did so for its true colors as a livable, everyday city that is as grimy as it is chic, as maddening as it is edifying, where uniform Haussmannian boulevards belie an erratic beauty that doesn't cleave to the picture-perfect city of our imaginations, but rather reveals the capital's diverse character. Even the less pleasant and seldom publicized realities, trash-strewn sidewalks, offensive odors, and all the various imperfections that intrude on the tourist's idyll are part of that character. These are the truths I was only able to see after pulling back the veneer and opening myself up to what existed beyond the fairy tale. 10 years later, the city's imperfections are among the many reasons I stay. The trouble with such an internationally fetishized public image, though, is that the city becomes a prisoner to its own deified history, hemmed in by its former successes. Few tourist cities have the weight of such an image and heritage to shoulder. So, to protect its legendary reputation, the city has historically turned inward and resisted change. Or, at least, it certainly felt this way when I moved to Paris in the middle of the new millennium, when the notions of progress and an embrace of cosmopolitan ideals were noticeably elusive. As other world capitals garnered attention in the media for innovations in technology, business, and even the culinary arts, Paris's image as change-phobic and voluntarily disconnected from the global world was cemented even further. Mediocrity, or a bad case of resting on their laurels, in many areas of life, from gastronomy to business and tourism, had become the accepted norm. Why mess with something that works? Some have called it complacency. Others have pointed to a malaise, tied to past failures, declining French influence, and conflicting values. That has stunted substantive change across the country as a whole. We have in mind this great nation of ours, the major power in Europe under Louis XIV and Napoleon I, the biggest Allied standing army in the First World War. Dominique Moisy of the French Institute of International Relations told The Economist in 2013. Now there's a sense of, what happened to us? To be sure, old world charm and numinous beauty, both reliably immutable, have served it well, as evidenced by the 29 million visitors that descend upon it each year. But the Paris of yesteryear wasn't enough anymore. Not for locals, and not for the growing set of travelers who wanted and expected more from the places they visited.